Welcome back, ninja community and people that want to learn some techniques on the side. In this video I'm going to be covering more techniques on the side. I think we're going to be getting into some intermediate techniques, like its application and how to use it in a real combat type situation. Okay, so before that I will definitely go over my quality statement disclaimer, mostly for reasons of liability, and of course some of this in short is mostly just basically at your own risk. So bear with me real quick while I go over this. So the viewer understands my quality statement disclaimer video, additionally agrees that this video could be treated as is with ballistic protection, which in short means I don't have a seal on it, therefore I don't guarantee the techniques and or your application of the techniques. And if you're watching this video with the intention of using any of its content in committing a crime, that is a crime. Actually using my content in committing a crime is an additional crime. Okay, so before I get into going over how to use some intermediate techniques in a real fight, like a real combat type situation, you should already be familiar with how to hold these. There are different arts and forms, and they typically will practice different techniques, but usually, like with one weapon, there you might find other techniques. And of course, it's just like learning how to punch. There's a lot of different ways to punch. So learning new techniques, Bruce Lee has said, find something new, make it yours. So I'm going to be going off the assumption that different people will be picking up different moves from this video and incorporating it into their own workout routine. But you should already be familiar with how to hold a sai. Okay, I covered some 4 positions in my previous videos on the side, so going over it real quick, this is one way to hold a sai. Now, a real shinobi in a real fight, training to put your index finger on the sai. Also the viewer understands that this is my intellectual property that I'm allowing others to view. Okay, a real shinobi, when they throw a punch with a sai, they're typically not going to be putting their finger on the handle when they throw a punch. Training to put your index finger on the handle is to learn to properly position your hand on the sai. Okay? As a real shinobi is very likely to grab the handle, snap their finger, and poke them with their own sai. For details on that, check out my other video on sai basics. Okay, so this is one position. Okay, this is another position. Your thumb here. Okay, this is another position, right? And here is another position. For more details on the transitions of these positions, check out my other videos. Okay, so in my last video I covered a 4th position, which was here. In this video I'll break down a 5th position and a 6th position. Okay, so transitioning, and of course there's the double flip in the other videos. The 5th position would be, let's see, the 5th position would come from here, holding it like this. Okay, and let's see, transitioning to it is simply just going here, as in a real bind up type situation, or training to work with disarms, as it's covered in my other video, right? And resisting disarms, one might wind up with their hand in this position. So here's a 5th position. Also, I'll cover a 6th position. Okay, a 6th position would essentially just be here. Now there is another position that other arts practice, which they will typically do it here, right? However, I will be showing you to hold it there, and if you are holding two sides at the same time, that would be more correct. So, for the way I'm showing you. Okay, or from this position. Of course, that's getting more advanced to here. Okay, I won't really cover that in this one. This is more intermediate. So getting into the intermediate strikes, okay, I've covered some other strikes in my previous videos. You should probably check those out first. Typically a hook to the side, right, as someone might have outstepped you, and of course a poke, right. Now, getting into more advanced strikes, you probably would want to get a dummy setup of some sort. I also cover, definitely should check out the other video. But in this video I'll show a few combos of transitioning as you strike, okay? So in the other video I cover basically a broom shot to the face and a hook to the side of the head, right? Punch to the stomach, an upward strike under the chin. So, learning strikes that transition, right? So if you were doing a combo, one combo coming from this setup, right, would be here and striking as you flip, right? And I did not cover that in my other videos, okay? This distraction hit by smacking, typically smacking near the face or just below the nose after you have poked them, in the stomach, and then a hit here as you come back around. From this position, you would do a back fist to the side of the head and spin here, and then poke here and go here. So again, that looks like this. From this position of hit, smack, poke, hit. So hit, smack, poke, hit. Hit, smack, poke, hit. And over here, it would look like this. So from this position would be a poke, smack, poke, and hit. Poke, and smack, poke, and hit. Poke, smack, poke, hit. Poke, smack, poke, hit. Smack, poke, smack, poke, hit. Okay. Getting to intermediate, of course, is doing the strikes as you transition. And that combo is fairly easy to do once you have already worked on the fundamentals of transitioning with the side. Okay, so from here, again, looks, and if you use a Kung Fu style, you can build on that if it doesn't fit. Okay, now if you use other Kung Fu styles, or if you're a boxer and you learn just some simple strikes with a sai, you could incorporate that into your workout, as one of the best things about the sai is that it can emulate very many different weapons simultaneously when it comes which is especially useful when it comes to doing disarms or learning to train against doing disarm and or resisting disarms. So simple disarming and bind ups, right? Training, some of that training is better done with a partner. But if the footwork that you use is solid, you can typically build on that. So even if your fundamentals are like boxing, where you're doing a lot of stepping, practicing a few simple strikes and working up to intermediate strikes. And in my opinion, strikes as you flip is intermediate strikes, as the strike as you flip, if you hit, comes back around. Okay, and simple strikes are more from this position here. Okay, and the intermediate one is striking as you transition. So if you watched the video so far, you should probably hit like hard like a ninja and subscribe to be alerted for when I do videos on YouTube. So like, comment, subscribe, share. Also, you can check me out on Facebook under my artist name or my 10th ninja name, Mel. That's E-M-E-L. And I have an Instagram, but I'm not telling you what my Instagram name is. You'll just have to be ninja, go figure that out on your own. Let's see. Also, feel free to comment on this video and check out my other videos, especially on the side. There's some good videos on the side. Now, there are other arts that hold the side differently, of course. Like when they hold it like this, check out their videos. That I would not be showing someone how to do this, as it is not part of the form that I use. Okay, as holding with here would only be if holding two sai at the same time. Okay, so getting more intermediate is also getting into using the lower body as you strike. So demonstrating that very same combo, like from here, here, just adding simple kicks or jerks or whichever is part of the art you use, even if they are just adding, let's see, like a low crescent, right? So just doing outward strike, doing a low crescent, right? And if you are familiar with high kicks, go for it. That's not my shtick. So simple strike. I think it would probably be easier to start off with some of the simple strikes first, as that's covered in my other videos. Some of the simple strikes first, right? And then working into making your own combo. Okay, so also some of the catches and grabs that I mentioned in the other video. Safety is most definitely important when training with weapons. Now, I mentioned it in my other videos, but I most definitely still going to mention it in this video. I advise against sparring with real weapons. They make training weapons a lot cheaper than hospital visits, and whenever you're training with weapons, it's always good to have eye protection, especially if you don't heed my advice to the not sparring with real weapons. Okay, so the catches and grabs. That's like in my other video, one very simple catch and grab, right? From here, from this position, that works into strikes. That is to catch your opponent's weapon that has struck your weapon, as this will typically capture their weapon. Typically. Hopefully. Especially if you have to really use it. So, anyways. Oh, one of the other positions that I showed. Okay. The psi, and that is the term for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. If you mean specifically how many, you would typically specify a number and then say psi, because psi is both the singular and the plural of this weapon. Okay. The first one was often thrown, and a lot of times they were carried in typically 3 or more. So throws can be done typically the same way as an Edo version of as an Edo era shoryuken, which would look like kind of like a big nail, and that was usually pitched underhanded. I'm not going to do an illustration of actually throwing it, but I'll do the motion. Okay, because I don't want holes in the wall. Okay, the motion is simply here. Okay, or throwing it comes from here underhanded, and would be typically as you pivot, okay, and let go. Overhead is from this position throwing over. Okay, that comes from here over. I imagine if you probably hit someone with that in the face, it would probably hurt. So catches and grabs, of course, is also getting back to this again about training with real weapons. The manufacturers, I remind you, the manufacturers changed the way that the psi was because of training incidences in dojos, where people would get part of their neck torn out, and that comes from a catch and grab of a missed strike, right, as you've seen in the combo that I just did. The missed strike from here, if you came back around and caught them at their neck, you could tear it straight down, right? Again, they would do that accidentally in dojos, where they would get parts of their shoulder or neck torn. The manufacturers added this curve here to facilitate not getting injured as badly. If anyone got injured, they would have to modify the weapon in order to have such a serious injury, as these are sold this way for that purpose. A real weapon, even though these are sold as real weapons, would not have that curve. And even a straight punch across the top, if your opponent had ducked, you could purposefully catch and grab them at this part right here, right? And as I've said, tear straight down, getting ready to finishing them off. Okay. The other combo in my other video is, of course, it doesn't really drastically modify the movement. Is just a rim shot to the face, right? Typically as you pivot, if you use a kung fu style, right? And that usually lands at the nose or mouth. Okay. If your opponent has stepped in, so looking here, is a pivot to the side of the head, typically landing here or down in the collar. Okay. So from here, to here, or here. And you could come straight up from there. Okay? So if you find a good sparring partner and you want to keep your sparring partner, I advise not to use real weapons, as real weapons can most definitely cause some serious injuries. Okay, so share my video with people who are ninja, but not with people who ought to be ninja, because they might accidentally learn something. So until next time, my friends, stay ninja.